Episode 147 Above Ground Podcast. Fight 'em till you can't.
Disclaimer. The hosts of this podcast, Timothy Patrick and Will Foley, are by no means medical professional. However, having lived experience with mental illness themselves, they have gained useful perspectives on common mental health issues that some of us struggle to overcome on a daily basis. By sharing their stories, they hope to create connection. By creating connection, they hope to help you find your purpose. And through purpose, we can all begin to build the foundation for positive mental health. This is Above Ground Podcast.
Are you ready to lace up your boots, throw up your horns, and jump into the pit? Then let's stomp the stigmas of mental illness. It's time for Above Ground Podcast. Now, Will Foley and Timothy Patrick.
Yo, what is up? How's everybody doing out there? Yeah, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another Above Ground Podcast.
Above Ground Podcast, because you can't serve below.
No, you cannot. And that is the sweet, smooth stylings of Mr. TPP over there. He's doing so well.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Hello, Will.
Hello, TPP. How are you today?
Doing okay. How are you, sir?
How are those negative thoughts treating you?
Oh, you know, typical. Typical.
They come in and they leave the doors open. And they let all the bugs in.
They do let all the bugs in. Those
And then
damn-
they eat all your food. They drink all your booze. And then they leave.
Do you ever think that your negative thoughts or any like negative situations or emotions that are, you know, you yourself put in the negative category, do you think does it seem like they never die? Like they just keep coming back? Like you can kind of, you know, go a few rounds with them and then like another 2 or 3 days later maybe or a week later they're back?
Yeah, it's called life, man.
Yeah.
They don't go away.
Yeah.
They just go and hide in another room.
They just go and hide in another room.
Yeah, they're always there, man. It's just, and again, you hit it. You fight them like Rocky. You survive 3-4 rounds. You know, you take a beating sometimes. You get a black eye.
Fight them till you can't fight no more.
Yeah, fight them till you can't fight no more.
Like zombies, they just keep coming back, and at times it seems as if they even multiply, right?
Oh, absolutely. And they are zombies. They'll eat your brains.
They'll eat your brains.
They will. They'll eat your mind. They'll eat your mind, brain first.
How do we fight the zombies? How do we keep them at bay, I should say, maybe?
I don't know, man. I never watched The Walking Dead. I really don't. I'm behind on my zombie culture, man. I'm used to seeing Disney movies where the zombies are all the heroes.
Oh, well.
Which I kind of dig. You know?
Maybe we could turn our negative thoughts into heroes somehow.
I like the monsters. You got to be friends with the monsters.
I know you do.
That's why sometimes you can't fight them. Sometimes you got to join them.
That's fine. Yeah.
I mean, the zombies are talking to you for a reason.
Right.
You know, now you can look at them as brain-eating, mutant, town-stealing creatures and want to kill them. But in reality, though, aren't you killing a part of yourself?
Maybe they're just lonely and they want to be friends with you.
Maybe. They're just trying to teach you something. They're trying to show you something in the mirror, man.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm saying. Maybe you don't have to kill them, but I do feel like fighting them off, so they don't take over, or that at least they don't steal the joy out of your current moment.
Yeah, I could see that. But I think we have to learn how to be in our own moment with the negative thoughts. Because again, there's days when you can be like, hey, I'm great. Everything is fine. I'm fine. Everything is fine.
Right.
And carry on, okay? And then there's other days where you can say it, but you can see it in the person's face that it ain't fine.
Right.
And you have to learn how to dance with the zombies sometimes. Because you can't kill them all. Because oftentimes there's one or two, and then sometimes there's a whole army of them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think you can fight off one or two, and I think they just come back more.
They can.
You know?
They can. I mean, you know, again, like I'm not versed in zombie killing culture, so I don't know. I don't have a metaphor for you to equate it. The only zombie movie that I've ever really sat down and watched that I absolutely love is one of the cheesiest ever, which is Return of the Living Dead. Because the song "Do You Want to Party" was just a killer song, and watching the zombies climb up from the wet ground and stuff was awesome.
Do you want to party?
Do you want to
maybe
party?
that? Yeah, maybe
It's party time.
maybe it's party time when they come, and you have to hold a party for them. Because they want to be heard.
They do, dude. They want to be acknowledged, man. What's that? What do they want?
Validation.
They want validation, man. And the zombies are there for a reason. You know, they became zombies because they got infected by something, man. They got infected by their own negativity.
So do you think that by doing that, like, you know, it's not solely the zombies or the negative thoughts that are coming in. It's your reaction to them. It's your thoughts.
Sure, it's the story you're telling yourself about every thought that you have in your head, because that's essentially what it is. Now, the thoughts in your head sometimes are observations, sometimes are just regurgitated crap from the past, sometimes worrying into the future, as we know.
Yep.
And then other times it's just useless dribble. Like, wow, look at that paper plate. Isn't it kind of flimsy and takes up too much grease? Again, like not like so. And then the other stuff what we're thinking is usually negative. The
Right.
negative stuff is usually worrying about stuff that you can't change, worrying about the past, and thinking about the future, and worried that the future is going to be worse than the past.
Yeah.
And you miss everything right now.
Right. That's yeah.
You just do. So it's hard to, you know.
So do you think by validating them, you miss less of now?
Yeah, because everything, your body, when your body has a pain, it's trying to talk to you.
I agree. No, I fully agree.
And when
with
your
that.
mind is trying to talk to you. Now, I'm not saying that negative thoughts are always trying to talk to you. Sometimes it's just ridiculous stuff that we just never got over. We never even questioned. Because again, man, you have to have a willingness to understand why you think the way you do. And
What if, let me interrupt you for a second. What if these negative thoughts come in, and whether or not you're looking out through the shit-colored lenses, what if that negative thought comes in and you're like, okay, well, I'll sit with it and like validate it. But then circumstances occur that almost prove those negative thoughts to be correct.
Well, they're proving your negative thoughts to be correct because that's how you look at it.
Okay.
So, I mean, granted, I know because I suffer from the same thing. Like, you can validate it right to say, see, look, I told you but that's catastrophizing.
Right.
So again, that's a negative trait of having negative thoughts about yourself. So you have to be able to stand your ground and question that. Because again,
No, you're right.
And this is what
You're
I've
right.
learned. A lot of the stuff that I have issues with are based on stuff that I've internalized as I'm the fault. And that's always been the way it is in my life, because it's easier to blame myself than it is to blame the others around me, because for whatever that reason is. And it was just because I don't know if it's that I feel like I've just made too many mistakes and I've had a hard time getting by some of them. And in recent months, all this excavation is actually helping. So I'm breaking down a lot of those things and realizing that they're not mistakes. They're not anything. It's just, that's how I've looked at them. And that's how I've internalized it. And I've internalized some stuff, and we do this, man. That's why you have to be really careful of what you say and how you say it.
Yeah, I agree.
And we don't question, that's just a recent thing. And So, and it's good that we are. It's good that we're starting to be mindful about how we talk to one another, because just because you think something is okay to say doesn't mean that it is.
Right.
No matter what you think. So, you know what I mean?
No, I agree. And
it's not even about canceling anything out. It's like there's a certain, like, you can like there's a certain amount of respect. Like, people who talk to people in really bad ways are always demanding respect from others, and it's like, well, you don't deserve respect if you can't respect anybody
right.
else.
That's usually either with either side. It's like if you're trying to, if you're trying to gain some kind of power, you're mad at or whatever, you're irritated at the situation or the person because they actually have power, and then what you want to do in return is to get mad at them and then steal the power. So it's like, it's really just it's like a silly cycle that just continues.
Well, yeah, because my dick's bigger than your dick, and
right.
It's just it's ridiculous, man. It
is. Do you think that being, when you're having these negative thoughts, and then being in that particular state, like, that's gonna obviously have an effect on your mental health as a whole?
Well, if you're in an agitated state, and I'll say an agitated state is in you're having an issue with your emotions. So you're not baseline now. You're like, you've noticed you're in the uptick. So you're agitated. So it's harder to stop the negative thoughts when you're already agitated.
Yeah.
For me, for sure.
No, absolutely.
However, though, you still have to try it, and you still have to make it work, because the thing is that you can't stay agitated and expect a different outcome than what you're willing to expend yourself. Because again, this stuff is there is some personal responsibility in this, man, and like, self-development doesn't happen by you not taking part in it and only taking part in it when you feel like it. It doesn't, man. This is like, again, well said, it's just like the push-ups. The push-ups don't do any good unless you do them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like,
and watching a workout video is not gonna.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And don't get me wrong, man. We're all guilty of it. And I know that there's certain things that happen to me when I'm cycling around the depressive cycle and stuff. And I am coming out of a depressive cycle that has been plaguing me now for quite some time. But I finally had started to break through it in the last few months, and I'm still breaking through it with all the just earth moving underneath me and things, and just excavating things and looking at things and debating whether the room needs to be changed around or even smashed and opened up, and so it's just things, and it's scary, but it's also invigorating as fuck, because I'm like genuinely excited, and I don't know what it's going to end up being, and I'm okay.
That's kind of new for you.
I'm okay with a lot of it. I'm trying to be okay with all of it. It's just, again, it's a process, and I'm not good at trusting processes, and it's difficult, but it's been beneficial so far, and I can genuinely say, like, I'm happy with my own therapist and all that stuff. So that is a positive thing, and I think finding a therapist to work through your negative thoughts is a good place to start. But again, it's only going to work if you put the work in. Ding, 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 ding. Johnny, tell him what he's won.
What's behind door number 1?
He's won a wonderful life.
Yes, exactly. I know. I've said it millions of times, and we've said it, and we'll continue to say it. You get out what you put in.
You get, like Tesla said, man.
And I think you kind of almost have to be a part of it to allow the therapist to help, because they need as much information as as you can give them, so they can give you the feedback and understand it more, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, at least for my relationship with mine, it's been great because of the interplay of it, because I wanted to do the work. But
Right.
I wanted it to be done the way I'm comfortable doing it, that I know that I can do the work and actually get to the answers I want. I know what I'm looking for. So I was looking for somebody that wasn't trying to push me into a certain modality because that's where they're comfortable and that's where their comfort zone is, and they want to prove something to themselves. I needed to prove it to me.
So you have your zombie escape plan already mapped out.
Yeah, I had a zombie hatch. And don't get me wrong, man. I haven't gotten back to the zombie hut yet, and we need the fallout shelter and stuff. I'll go back to the zombie hut if I have to. But right now I'm out free roaming with them, and there's not as many of them roaming around now,
All right. Yeah.
And I've actually friended a few of them. They're not as dangerous as you think when it's daylight.
When the light shines on them.
When the light shines on them, man, it's there,
Okay. That's fair. Yeah.
They've even taught me some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have. They've taught me about where some of my blind spots are, and some of my, and look, some of those negative thoughts, man, have, and in all honesty, as I've looked back, I just turned 50. So I've been looking at all that at the start of this episode. I'll have turned 50 already. So it's like, I'm looking at things a lot differently now that I got an AARP card.
Can you get it at 50?
Yeah, that's when you get it.
Nice.
You can start. Yeah, you can start.
Oh, can you get discounts and
You
stuff?
do start getting
yes,
discounts.
we're gonna start hanging out more.
Yeah. We go to Denny's. We go to Denny's, have the old man breakfast.
Will gets the free coffee.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh man.
It sucks getting old, man. It does. But it's funny.
But it doesn't have to, because it's when you're telling yourself it sucks getting old. Then
Well, right. It's been,
right?
and it's crazy because, dude, I'm 50. Really?
Yeah.
Like, no, that's a milestone, man. I think that's a huge accomplishment for any individual in this life, man, to live a half a century. And then
That's true.
I think everything over that is pretty kosher and bonus, I think, in a lot of ways. And obviously we know, man, you come back from the dark, and the light shines in different ways and in different places than it used to.
Oh yeah.
So you look at things a little differently, and you're like, okay.
So do you think? I mean, I'm sure I would say they both do, but like adversity and experience both would help build resilience.
They do, but it's funny because recently in one of the newest Psychology Today magazines, they were talking about how experience, people who are set with another set of facts when it comes up against their own experience, have a hard time accepting that. And I haven't read the article or anything yet, but I understand why that is, because we think our experience is, and our experience is, and it needs to be acknowledged. However, it's not everything. And we can't let our experience necessarily say, because we had one experience, that it's always going to be like that. And that's that negative thought.
Right.
Now, sometimes
It's also, I think it's judging it, right? I mean, it's basically it's an inner book that we wrote. It's an inner book of rules that we wrote for ourselves. You know what I mean? It's these standards that because through our experiences, but like you said, it's not necessarily the law. It's not the outside rule. It's the inside rule. You know what I mean? That's why
it's not even a rule. It's just this
I think I'm saying it like in a way as we view, like we're viewing it as a rule. You know what I mean? That's the way that we kind of I don't know the word I want to use. That's how we put it into, that's how we kind of name it, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how we look at it as this. Again, if you come up and say like, well, this light doesn't go here because it goes here, And I'm like, well, this light's always gone here, so it must go there, right?
Right.
So it's like you're coming at me at you're questioning my book of rules. You know what I mean?
Right. But you have to understand though that's your experience.
No, I know
right.
that. Yeah,
So,
yeah. No, I was just trying to.
Right, but it gets tough because that's your experience.
Right.
So that's what you have to go on.
Well, I think that's why I think being open and understanding, but also just knowing that there's very few solid truths. If you know what I mean, there's very few solid truths. It's all just people's opinions.
I think the only solid truths that there really are like the universal laws. Like those are solid truths because, dude, gravity, there is no mistake in gravity. You throw something up in the air, it's fucking coming down. I don't give a shit what it is unless it's a helium balloon and it floats off. That's about it.
But eventually it's going to come down.
But eventually it's going to come down. That's gravity. That's a universal law. That is a truth. What goes up must come down, and usually it comes down faster and harder. And there are universal laws. So I think that those truths, those are really the truths that we seek.
Right.
But again, though, a lot of that stuff is kind of wishy-washy to people, and that esoteric stuff to them, and they can't quantify it, so they won't see it, so they won't think that those truths exist, and so their experience to them tells them that these truths don't exist because they can't see them, but it's not. That's false.
Right.
It's just you have to realize that it's just, and it's taken me fucking years and I still don't understand it. Like I look at some of these things and I'm like, okay, how does that work? How am I? But whatever foot I'm putting forward into this, I'm noticing that I'm moving forward. So there's some stuff that is legit as far as just putting your energy into the right places and things will happen.
Yeah.
And
no,
that's
I
a
agree with
universal
that.
law, man. That's what, reciprocation is. It's like you get more than you put in, but you got to put in an awful lot. But you can get more. It's just it takes a lot. And you have to be ready. And again, most people aren't ready, man. Most people are walking around with blinders on for whatever reason. Most people aren't at a spot where they want to question everything that they've ever been taught because they're afraid that it's not accurate and they're afraid it's not true. That's in reality where I think, in my own personal opinion, where religion can hurt your mental health is by having those just be all beliefs that this is how it is, and that's setting you up for some bad stuff, man. Yeah, but it goes, and that's everywhere though. I don't care what idea it is, that's why.
No, I agree.
That's why, like, I will never say I'm anything anymore. I'm a universalist, man. I'm like, I want a little bit of everything because I realized that a lot of the stuff that I learned growing up, I may not have appreciated all of it because a lot of it was bullshit in religion, but there's some good stuff in there, and I don't believe in Christianity, in that. Because again, that's a man-made religion that people said were based on these truths, and again, anything. I mean, even the Buddha says don't take what I say for truth, man. You got to experience it for yourself, but Jesus, the Christ taught a lot of really valuable things, and like there's things that get lost because you throw the whole thing out. You throw the baby out with the bathwater, man. I finally understood what that saying meant. That's why you got to take a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And it's hard. It's hard because you start to see with blinders on. And I have, man. I've seen religion with blinders on where I went to the complete opposite side and was, I vilified everything. And then like after stuff started to clear up for me, I never didn't think in spiritual terms. Like I always thought that there was a spirit world. It's not this nonsense that I was
and which is fine, right? I mean, that's kind of
that's what growth is. That's
but that's what I think.
And some people grow the other way, and I'm not shortchanging anybody for what they believe in. But you have to when something is just, you have to just constantly proselytize it. Like, to me, that is grasping at something that you don't find, because I don't need to talk about like any of that stuff. You get me on the soapbox of it, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
ready
No,
to
I
go.
get it.
But I could care less what you believe in, but don't try to sell me on something that you're trying to sell yourself on, man. Because I don't need to sell you on this. Like, I can tell you that I'm not selling anything. There's nothing here I'm selling.
It's just like Jack Nicholson says in As Good as It Gets. Sell crazy somewhere else. I'm all stocked up here.
That's right. Yeah, that's a great movie too, man. Make me want to be a better man.
Yeah,
that's a great line.
That is a great line. It's a great line. If we could say that to ourselves.
Yeah, I can. It's hard, but I'm doing it a little bit every day. Looking at myself in the mirror a little differently. See those circles under my eyes. Get a little. I said that I looked like Uncle Fester the other day in a picture. My wife was like, "No, you do not." But I'm like, look at that bald head. I'm like, look at those circles, and she's like, they're not like that. And I was like, oh.
Well, there's another thing. Like, we see things different, right?
Right.
That's
right.
another
So
thing.
that's my experience is
Right.
telling me I'm getting old, man. My experience, because
but
of
someone
what
else is looking at it and going, no, what do you
right,
you're fine.
but because of the stories I told myself
Right.
about what it's like to get old, now I'm that age, and I'm like, I'm fucking lost because I'm not supposed to be here. Like, this was over the hill to me when I was 20, and it's like again, that's what gets you questioning everything that you do. Like, that's why I questioned why I was playing. Why am I running around trying to play everywhere when it's not serving the purpose, and it's not serving.
Well, that's just assessing. I think that's I think we should do that with, as far as mental health goes, is assess the situation as often as, you know what I mean? I think in relationships, marriages, any kind of interpersonal relationship, assess the situation. Like, what are we doing here? Like, are you good? Am I good? Is what we're doing good? Because let's face it, I'm not the same person I was last week, nor are you. So are we growing? Are we growing together? You know what I mean? There's so many things, but by sitting down and just assessing that, and I think you can eliminate a lot of unnecessary suffering and grief.
Yeah, but it's uncomfortable, man.
Of course it's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable to fucking sit down and say, wow,
life is uncomfortable.
This really sucks. And wow, this did not turn out the way we expected it to.
Right. Well, and that's another thing,
and
right?
Then you realize,
expecting, having that image in your head of how, you expect it to be,
Well, right. And that's the negative thoughts. And what negative thoughts are you telling yourself about that?
Right.
And what are you telling them about yourself? Like, I can tell you all the thoughts you're telling me about me, and I'm not going to share them. And I'm not going to share them because.
And how's it working out for you, right?
It's not working out very well.
Right.
And, but it's an eye opener. It really is, man. Like, I'm like forever grateful for the opportunity to like do the work that I'm doing, and that as people we're doing, and working with a therapist, man, I think is important. And I think
it's so funny to hear you say that. I'm not used to that yet. So
what, working with a therapist is important?
Yeah. You were never that gung-ho about it until you got yourself a good therapist.
No, I always thought about therapy. Problem is that like I would have probably went to a life coach a long time ago, but it's not really life coaching that I need. Like, I really needed to work through some deep rooted shit, and like but again, I'm ready. Like, I'm ready for it. I want to do it, and I'm very grateful that I get the opportunity to, and I have the ability to, and I have the insurance that does it. And
so some zombies you dodge and weave, some zombies you run from, some zombies you fight. I think you fight them off either way, but some zombies,
I think so.
Some zombies you befriend and try and walk them into the light.
Well, the thing is that the zombie that you fought last night might be the same zombie you see at the supermarket in the daytime, like, because sometimes they're just masked and in shadow.
Sometimes they're there to teach you something.
Right. Well, they're all there to teach you something. Just, are you ready for the lesson? Can you handle the lesson? And if you can't, do you know enough to step back and say, I can't? and say, okay, I got to come back to this. Because a lot of people get spooked and they never come back. And I think that that's a big, like, problem too for people, man, is that once they see a glimpse of something they don't like, ooh, that's hard, man.
Yeah. Sure. How do you guys fight your zombies? You can let us know at abovegroundpodcast@gmail.com. Stop by our Instagram page, Facebook page.
Yeah. You can buy us a coffee too if you like what you hear. Want to thank Professor Fryer for buying us a couple of coffees not that long ago. Jim, thank you very much, man. I would love to have you on the podcast because I think your insight would be awesome. But yeah, so you can find us on Twitter at Above Ground Pod. You can find us on YouTube. Please go to our YouTube because we've actually started to update all the art stuff and things. So now every week you'll see the different artwork on YouTube now too, man. Every week Timmy spends his time creating, so I was like, we got to start using it everywhere on all the things. So we got to make sure we come up with the other widescreen stuff. But yeah, and good stuff coming up, man. And we thank everybody for listening. We thank all the positive responses. And yeah, we're gonna be out and about in July for the Nippertown Fest, July 22nd, I believe it is. And yeah, can't wait for that. So until next week, man, be well,
be safe,
be above.